New tonight, a story that may truly shock you. We expose the dark side of what happens to your loved ones after they die. We go behind closed doors to show you the gruesome practice of stealing bodies and illegally cutting them up for cash. Our chief investigative reporter, Wendy Saltzman, is live in studio with this exclusive story.
Well, Stephanie, there's a market for stolen body parts you've probably never even heard about. It's called the tissue trade, and it's rather gruesome. Layers of skin, eyes, and bones. Just about any piece of a person's body can be taken and sold for cash on the black market.
Pictures are hard to look at because when I see my dad, I don't see my dad as I should see my dad. I see my dad in pieces.
Karen Delray's father died unexpectedly a few days before Christmas in 2004.
He died of respiratory failure, but he had a lot of other complications. He had skin cancer.
His death was not a complete shock, but it's how his body was mutilated afterwards that defies her imagination.
So they went a whole hog with chainsaws and saws and things that your imagination couldn't imagine in your wildest dreams.
James Thornton was a loving father.
He could walk in a room and light that room up. I miss him.
His wishes after his death were unmistakable, and Delray was determined to bury her father with dignity.
He just did not like knives, and he didn't want an autopsy because he didn't want anybody cutting him.
Delray cremated her father as he had requested, but after his funeral, her worst nightmare began to unfold. She learned from police her father's body had been stolen by body brokers and his parts sold to tissue banks. His death certificate was forged to alter his cause of death, and his remains were mutilated.
They skinned him. They took almost 900 scrunches of skin, I've come to learn, almost every bone in his body, and what was left of him was a decapitated head, hands, and feet.
A single body is worth up to $300,000. That's the big business of body brokering. A CBS Atlanta investigation has uncovered not only this horrendous practice, but also the dangers of how those body parts are later used.
Now I worry about if somebody has pieces of my dad, which is scary to me. I wouldn't want pieces of him, and I love him. I wouldn't want pieces of him because he was sick. He was sick.
Even though he had cancer, to the body snatchers, he was just cash. Cold, hard cash. His body parts were transplanted into patients who had no way of knowing they were getting tissue illegally harvested from a stolen body.
Just because they come in a plastic bag that's sealed doesn't mean that it's sterile and it can't transmit infections or have other problems.
Centers for Disease Control Director of Blood, Organ, and Tissue Safety, Matt Kunert, admits right now there's no way to know the number of cases where tainted tissue has been transplanted into unsuspecting patients.
And that's unacceptable. That's something that we need to improve.
Despite what patients believe, Kunert says there's no tracking of tissue.
That's right. I think they need to know the truth.
But admits tainted tissue has been transplanted into an unknown number of patients, like Rita Powell.
He told me that he had found out that the bone graft I had gotten was not harvested correctly.
Now, coming up, we're going to tell you Powell's story and the horror stories of other patients who have received stolen body parts and were never told about the dangers, the diseases, the complications, and the Atlanta company that's involved. Plus, what you need to know as a patient and a donor. That's coming up in a few minutes.